Hi, I'm Morgan with CEV. Thank you for joining us today for the Classroom Management Panel. We are excited to have two panelists with us today. Annette, if you'll go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Annette Honeycutt, and I'm at Lakeside High School in Lake Village, Arkansas. And I am a CTE teacher. I teach the business classes, social media marketing, which they're changing the name around a little bit, but it's mostly about marketing and social media. And this is my 8th year teaching high school.
Okay, great. Thank you. Janet?
Hi, I'm Janet Spurlock, and I teach at Inola High School in Oklahoma, and I am a CTE FCS instructor, and I teach grades 9 through 12. I teach family and consumer science, personal finance, marriage and family, and child development.
Okay, great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. So the way this is going to work, I'll ask a couple questions and then just let you guys talk. So the first question that we're going to start with, what are some classroom management strategies you use when students are working independently?
Well, when I start students off on a new subject or we're heading toward a project, I always do the I do, we do, you do. And that way they feel a little bit more confident when they get ready to work independently. When they're going through this process, I also set the room up as a business. So I'm the boss and they're coworkers. So they have to go through and ask 3. So if they get a little confused, ask 3, then me. Mm-hmm. And that way they can go and keep it at that level and help each other, get help from their peers. And then if they don't understand, and 3 of them are coming to me or 4 of them are coming to me and they don't know, then I know there's something that I missed in teaching them. So then I'll use a strategy, all eyes on me, to go. It's a procedure to go and bring everybody to attention, and I'll reteach that section.
In my classes, I try to give my students ownership in the theme that they choose. I gave an example of if you were researching birth defects, for instance. If I give them a master list, and a lot of times the students will have an interest that's not on your list. And so I found with today's students, and especially high schoolers, you don't assign them something, you give them ownership and let them have a choice in it. And if you do that, they will buy into that and take their topic that they've chosen and go with it better than for me to try to dictate to them what I expect them to do. You have to be flexible with them. There is not just one way to do this project, and it can't be your way or the highway with them. Mm-hmm. So on Real Care Babies, for instance, if their parents are, sometimes their parents object to it, they can document their hours with real children in a daycare or day camp or tutoring. I have let them log their hours that they would do on the weekend that way. Or instead of a sewing project for themselves, then I let them make something to donate. We did a lot of things to donate. We even made 2 toys for dogs to donate to the dog shelter. And sometimes they love giving things that they've made to other people. And divide the project into smaller steps and give each smaller step, so that you're building upon your project and you'll have a completed project at the end of your steps. You have to let them divide it up and let them build it instead of overwhelming them with the whole thing and dumping it on them. And the last thing I put was that you can't go and sit at your desk. You absolutely have to walk around and make sure they are doing the work on their device that they're supposed to be, and that they're not, cell phones have become such an issue as well. So you have to patrol around your classroom and make sure they are where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, those are great. And the cell phone issue, I feel like is a problem that isn't going away. So you have to learn how to work with them on that, right?
Yes, definitely.
So what are some classroom management strategies that you guys used during distance learning? Either ones that you have done in the past or just this past semester? I know some schools are planning on doing a hybrid model where they're going to be meeting distance learning some days and in the classroom some days. How do you manage, how do you manage the kids in a situation like that?
Well, I was thinking one of the things that I'm going to do with my kids is the students that are Zooming, that make sure that their videos are active so that I can actually see that they're there and not just log in and take off.
Yep.
So I think that we can use the video camera and the conferencing with the students as a way of interacting with them. One summit that I went to this summer had a great opportunity, like open-ended questions. And then in the chat, the students are answering in the chat. So that's a great way to involve the students and get them to participate instead of just, all the, me talking to them. So I thought that was very energetic the way he did that. And I thought, oh, I like this one. Some of the other things I think, like what Janet talked about, is we already go and have a project and we break the project down into manageable parts. So it's kind of like one of the things I teach the kids is, how do you eat an elephant? Well, one bite at a time, you have to break it down. So I think by having all these little parts that are due, but have due dates on the small little parts and holding them accountable for those small deadlines so you can meet the big deadline, I think it's going to be one of the most useful parts that I integrate into my classroom. So I think that that's pretty important. I'm going to also record all my direct instruction so I'm not constantly repeating. So be able to use that as a tool to help the kids to be able to go back if they start to get lost.
Well, we were not encouraged to use Zoom at all. And so I had my CEV lessons set up. Thank heaven I had them, because they were what I leaned on to get me through that time period, because my students had been using them through the year and they knew how to log on and they knew where to log on. And our school had asked us to use the school website, which no parent or student knew how to access or cared to. And then a part of our faculty was using Google Classroom. So my students acted like they didn't know where to go, even though I practiced with them before we left for spring break 2 days and made sure that they had put their login information in their phone. But it was very stressful on me, and I had put it all on the website where I was told to put it, and then it was so confusing. One thing I did learn was that if you're going to put your assignment on the website, it has to be so detailed. Every little inch of it has to be spelled out, and you have to think in terms of a high school student reading it and understanding it and being able to follow it. And so my connections with my students were by email, by phone. I was calling parents. I had a clipboard here in my kitchen table. Who am I calling today? And it got to where my parents wouldn't answer the phone because they knew it was me calling.
Oh
My
my God.
financial lit students had to finish the course. I couldn't get the parents or the students to understand that the state mandated that we had to finish for them to get the credit. And it was a very stressful time for me. Very stressful.
So, how do you think, going forward, do you think maybe you would still be required to use your district's website, or do you think they will let you kind of use your own thing from here on out, knowing how difficult it was for you last time?
We've already been told that we will all use Google Classroom this year. And
Okay.
that should have happened last year earlier. We should have all been on Google Classroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then the students and all of us, it would have been a much better situation for all
Right.
of us.
Right, that makes sense. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, we use Google Classroom as well. And all I did was put the assignments and direct the students to ICEV. But, this was
That's
a lot different. Yeah. It was a little bit different where being able to contact my students, because in the past, of course, I don't want the kids to have my cell phone number,
Mm-hmm.
but during the crisis mode, all the kids had my cell phone number. And I was amazed that nobody abused it, but I love the way ICV is set up. I can see where everybody is working, if they're working, and I can text them and tell them, I don't see that you've completed this, where is it?
Yeah.
And so it kind of gets them to going again on their work.
Very much so. You
Yeah.
have the evidence.
Exactly. So, in your normal classroom, do you guys have a specific discipline system that you use? Is it something that you use for all students, or something that you differentiate with, special populations? Just what does discipline in your classroom look like?
I use more of a preventative discipline. So I set up the expectations in the beginning of the school year. And that first week, all we work on are what are the rules, what are the procedures, we practice the procedures, and what are the consequences.
Yeah.
So I work from bell to bell. That's a standard for their work ethic grade. They have to work from bell to bell. They have to start with their bell ringer, and almost every day there's an exit ticket. So it kind of wraps up what went on during the class. So the kids know, they expect that we're going to be working. If you shut down early, guess what? Just like your boss, you're going to be docked.
Yep.
So they get docked a few of their points for their work ethic grade. And so this promotes them to want to work until that bell rings. So that's quite a bit. I know, like my first year teaching, I didn't have my procedures quite down. I was a little soft with them, but as long as you're fair and consistent with your fairness with all of them, and stick to your rules, then I think that it flows much better. They know what to expect from you. And the biggest thing is that first year they could tell when I got upset. I get irritated. So now I just try to let them see the joy come out instead. And I don't let them see when they get to me. I just don't let them see that. And so that usually knocked off a lot of the excess that they like to do.
Right.
Well, I do have a short list of rules that are very general in nature. Most of the, what behaviors I expect, like you're responsible to, take your assignments and turn them in, or treating other people in class the way you want to be treated. But I also tell them, none of those rules on that list are anything that you can't expect of me. So what I expect of you, you can turn around and expect that of me. So I'm not going to be on my cell phone during class. So I expect that you're not going to be on your cell phone. Or I'm not going to have a drink in my hand, a pop or chips or whatever, and you're not going to either. You can have a bottle of water if you would like one. So that, you know, as long as they understand, the fairness is so important. You know, just be honest with them up front and be fair with them. And they're usually not going to push the issue. Most of them are not going to try to do that. I did put up the cell phone wall pockets last year. I really hate to penalize my best students who don't push the buttons for the ones that do. And so I did not say, you know, everyone is going to have to do this. But if you abuse it, yours will be there for the rest of the semester. Yeah. And it worked. And, you know, it worked better than I thought it might. But, you know, I've bell to bell, when she said, I teach bell to bell. If, in my opinion, is if I am there prepared to start class when the bell rings, and they know that I value my class well enough to have high expectations, and there is something that they can learn and is relevant and challenging, they're going to be better students. They're going to, I'm not going to have as many discipline issues. And you can't hammer high school students. You just can't do it with today's students. They will rebel big time if you try to come in and hammer them.
Yep.
I don't. I try to teach them, you know, you want to be an adult or not. They don't want to adult, most of them. But you want to be treated like an adult, then you're going to have to act like that. Yeah. And so seating charts, I do that for freshmen. A lot of times I don't know them at all, and so I have to learn their names. So very beginning, I do that. But I also re-seat them when we do labs, like I have lab groups for cooking. And upperclassmen, I am a little bit more lenient, but if their grade starts going south, then I get to do the choosing for that. And so, you know, I try to step back and let them, you know, see where they will go with their grade or their seating or their ability to get their work done. Right. I'm a social science teacher. I am not there, you know, to hammer them with rules. Right. I don't like rules. And I tell them, you know, I have a rule giver. He's the principal. You all don't understand. I have my own set of rules. Right. Also, we all live under rules.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you guys just gave a lot of really good tips, but is there anything specific that new teachers could learn from two veteran teachers like yourself, something that maybe you learned the hard way that you would like to help out a little bit?
I would say one of the biggest things that I was told when I was coming into teaching is be that stern person and be tough and be mean with the kids. Well, that didn't work. But then, you know, flipping on the other side and being too kind and too sweet and, you know, wishy-washy, that didn't work either. Mm-hmm. So the best thing is to be consistent all the way through. So if you go in with a business mindset, or I keep saying business because I teach business, but if you go in with that mindset of we're going to go and we're going to be professional, and I'm going to be professional with you, and I expect you to be professional with me, and just don't let them rattle you, because they're going to try, because they're teenagers.
Yes.
So just keep your cool. But make sure you follow whatever your rules are, then make sure you follow in your consequences. Make sure you follow that. Don't give them, 13 chances, to keep pushing your buttons. I'm very strict about that, where if they do something that might be harmful to another student, then
Mhm.
it's as was said back in the old days, nip it in the bud. you know. But as far as creativity, they can, let the creativity flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then practicing those procedures, the classroom procedures in that first week, repetition, 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 and then you can move forward, and then they know what to expect, and they'll do it.
Yeah.
Well, I truly believe you have to have a calling and it be a gift to be able to remain in this profession for a career. It has to be your passion or you cannot do it.
Absolutely.
And, the one thing that I have learned is that my kids crave quality time in connecting with someone personally. They are craving that. They need that. And I resolved before last year, when a student comes up to me, I'm going to stop what I'm doing, put it down. I'm going to look you in the eye and I'm going to listen actively to what you're saying to me. That tells them I care enough to give you this attention.
Yeah.
And that truly made a difference, especially, with my students that don't have that going on at home at all. And teaching is the hardest job you will ever do if you do it right.
Yes.
And so along with the challenges and the unbelievable amounts of time that you put in on your classes, there are huge rewards when you meet your students as adults with children and you meet them in the store or the community. Like, I can't go to any of the restaurants in my local town because all of my kids work there. They're employees there. I can't go to the grocery store. I mean, I cannot get through the grocery store because I have to talk every aisle. And that to me is the reward. I've had an impact on lives. That's better than selling any product.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, is there anything specific that ICEV does to help with any of the tips that you guys have mentioned, any of your classroom management strategies?
I would say that it really helps the kids work at their own pace. I have some students, and I know we all do, that are very quick pace through things. They get it and they're ready to move on.
Right.
And sometimes if they don't have something to move on to or to be able to go and assist other kids with their learning, then those are the kids that tend to go and make their own little thing going on.
Yes.
So I love the fact that the kids can work at their own pace. And then for the kids also, there's great examples. There's great PowerPoints and videos that explain whatever it is that we're learning about. And it goes into depth. It's not just a surface learning, but it goes deep. So that helps a lot. And then the examples that are set up before the activities and before the projects, I love that because it shows the kids, this is where you're going.
Right.
This is what it should look like. So ICEV is just so much great material in there, including lesson plans that I can pull bits and pieces out from my own lesson plans. And so it helps me stay on task of where I need to lead them. And then it helps the kids so they have all this wonderful material at their fingertips. So it's wonderful.
I agree totally with that. I asked how long I had been using it, and I had been using it since 2014. And the first year I only had the teacher part of it. But after that, I purchased the student licenses, and it's all kept updated. And it is such a variety on each course that I can, if I see a lesson for facts that I want to use in my marriage class, I can just pick that lesson and take it and use it. I can use it on the smart board. I can go through the PowerPoint with my students. I can use hard copy assignment sheets, or I can use interactive. It is just such a variety of ways that I can use it to present information. And my students have their own Chromebooks, and so it's easy. Some of them want to pull it up on their Chromebook and go through it with you, which I don't object to. Digitally, that is why I am here this year, is I want to have it and have it ready to go whenever we are told to go back home. Hopefully not. Hopefully that isn't going to happen. But and the remediation. I love the fact that my students, I do allow them to retake their assessments. If they're not happy with what they made, I allow them to retake the assessments. And to me, and having it automatically graded is icing on the cake.
Absolutely. Anything that's less work for you guys, right? You've got enough to do.
Exactly. I love that. So I'm a huge, huge fan of the curriculum.
Great. Well, thank you so much, ladies. I know I learned so much. I'm sure everyone else did. We appreciate you taking your time out, especially during your crazy summer, to help teach us.